Hey, I'm Jerry Hancock. Another one-on-one. This one about meaning in life. What is life about? What's the meaning of life? What is it supposed to be? How are we supposed to behave? What, what about the big questions? Who's there to answer those questions for us? How are we supposed to answer questions for our kids if we haven't even settled them for ourselves? Meaning in life is one of the big 7 topics that come up a lot in our discussions with men, and wonder why that is. Because if you think about it, we all have to answer for ourselves what really matters to us in life, what matters in our family life, what matters in our personal, spiritual life. So the meaning that we attribute to things really does matter, and if we attribute meaning to the wrong things, that could put us in a place we don't want to be. So let's think about how we go about deciding what really matters, and therefore what meaning in life is all about. I'm sure you've seen men, maybe you've been one of them, who about 40, 45 years old just begins to ask yourself, what is going on? This is a rat race. I'm spending all my time at work. I'm not having fun. I'm not enjoying life. My wife is unhappy with me. My kids are unhappy with me. I don't have much to live for. And it's at that point we start to really examine ourselves and examine our values, our priorities, and what really matters, and whether we're spending the time the way we should be spending it. Well, I've got some suggestions for you if you're open to listening to them. The first thing I'd like to point out to you is that it's going to be hard to find real meaning in life without some sort of spiritual base. I mean, you might not want to hear that. That might not square with how you see the world. Maybe you don't consider yourself even a spiritual being. But let me tell you this, you are spiritual. You may not be religious, but you are spiritual. There's an old saying that we are not human beings trying to figure out how to be spiritual. We are spiritual human beings trying to figure out what it's like to be human. And so spirituality actually comes first in our lives, and it comes in different ways. It's not going to be the same for you as it is for me, but you've got to have something that grounds you, that makes you feel there's some purpose in life, that has some value to the daily activities that you're doing, that you don't feel like it's all just a waste of time, and that you're going to spend your whole life on earth and then die and nothing comes of that. It would be nice to leave a legacy behind. It'd be nice to have someone say something nice about you. But in order to do that, you've got to find the meaning in life yourself and what it really is all about. Well, here's what I found over the course of my life. To be a spiritual human being means getting outside yourself. You can't be much of a spiritual human being if you're wrapped up in yourself and self-absorbed and everything is about you, and all the decisions and all the activities that take place in your life are all about gaining something for yourself. Until you can put that aside and do something for somebody else, you really haven't discovered much about the meaning of life. If you read the great philosophers, including Jesus, including the scriptures, Socrates, any of them, most of life is about self-understanding, self-awareness. You can spend your entire life and never know anything about yourself. And if you don't know about yourself, how are you going to share that with your wife or with another human being? How are you ever going to have intimate connections with other people if you're focused on only things that matter for yourself? And worse, if only you're focused on material things or things that are important today society would tell you are important today, but really may not matter in the long run. A few years ago, I developed cancer of the esophagus. I had no idea this was coming. It came as a total shock to me. But when it was discovered during a regular routine exam. And my doctor said, not a lot of people survive this, but you've got a pretty good chance because we found it early. So they literally took out my esophagus and took a piece of my stomach and created a new esophagus. I was in the hospital for 2 months. I was sick. I was very sick. I didn't care if I lived or died. But it gave me a time to think about what really matters in my life and what is important. And I came away with some new realizations that maybe I hadn't been spending as much time with my wife and family as I should. Maybe I haven't focused on helping others. Maybe I haven't done things through my church or other organizations to leave a mark on society or to help out in some way. Maybe I had gotten too self-centered and focused on myself. All those questions come back to sort of remind you of who you are. And what I want to point out to you is that time, that speed bump in your life where you have to make some real decisions, because if you decide, for example, let's say you had some serious conflict with your wife and you're thinking about divorce, here's a chance for you to think twice about that, because divorce is a more or less permanent situation, and it's going to have impact not only on you, but on your spouse, on your children, your family. It's going to have impact on other relationships that you have in the future. And so what is the meaning of your life if it is suddenly disrupted by bad relationships or not being able to find a way to compromise and get along with your own partner, the person that you made a vow to live till death do you part? These are important questions. These are the big time questions that tear lives apart, that make us unhappy, that make us bitter, that convince us that the world is not a friendly place to be in, and all of those things. But what I want you to understand is that you have a way of influencing that. You can change the outcome of this equation. If you're unhappy with your wife, get some counseling. If you're unhappy with your children, get some counseling. If you're unhappy with yourself, figure out why you're unhappy. Figure out what is the source of that and work on it, and let that not be a deciding factor in the rest of your life. There are plenty of bitter, angry folks in the world. You don't want to be one of those. You want to be someone who has discovered the true value of life. And the reason I want to point this out to you is that the consequences of this can be deadly. It can lead to depression, to alcoholism, to all of the bad things that we know can disrupt lives. If you go to an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, you'll find most of them are saying that they lost their spiritual way in life, and that there was a spiritual vacuum and they filled it with alcohol. Or you can go to sex addict classes and find the same thing. In other words, there are things that we tend to fill our lives with because we're lacking in the areas where things really matter, such as our own spiritual development. There are plenty of ways to go about developing yourself spiritually, but the first one is to get outside yourself and do something for somebody else. And maybe you can do that through your church or synagogue or through some other programs to help people, some charities that you want to get involved in. But don't let your life be just about a self-centered approach and make it all about yourself. Well, that's all the time we have for that one right now, but I want to remind you that these one-on-one discussions are brought to you by Men in Balance with an idea that your life can be better than it is. Your spiritual life in particular can be better than it is. And there are things, rewards in life that you can have and enjoy that you might not have even thought about if you'll just take the time to pursue a different course of action. And while we're at it, go to the website, meninbalance.org, and look over some of the resources that are there. There's plenty of stuff to help you along in your spiritual path. There's more videos to watch. There's also a radio station, meninbalance.org/radio, will get you to ideas that you can listen to 24/7 about ways to improve your life. But the important thing is find a way to improve your life that makes sense to you, that will take you into a position of helping others. I'm Jerry Hancock from Men in Balance.